All right, guys, we got some breaking news that's coming out of the Middle East in regards to the third temple in Jerusalem. According to Israel 365 News and the Temple Institute, they have announced today that all Texas red heifers have now officially been disqualified to be used for the ritual for the third temple. Also, but the caveat to this is, the Temple Institute also recently announced that, quote, it's time to build. So what in the world is going on? We're going to cover all this on today's podcast. Let's go.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, guys? It is Wednesday, August 6th. We want to welcome you to today's podcast. This is not our typical 8 p.m. hour program, but we've got so many things going on that we just try to do these when we can and fit them in. So again, this is breaking news. Again, help us out. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. That's going to help push our program out there and get eyes on our ministry as well. And we want to welcome everybody. If you're new, first time joining us, maybe you're tuning in, somebody invited you in, whatever the case may be, we want to welcome you to the program. Do us a favor, let us know that you're new and where you guys are joining us from. And I myself or our admins will welcome you in the chat here on YouTube or Rumble or wherever you're watching from, maybe on the rebroadcast of this on YouTube. And of course, we want to welcome you guys on Apple and Spotify as well. We appreciate you guys listening in. You can do us a favor and give us a good review. If you enjoy these podcasts, you enjoy our content, when you give us a good review, that's going to be a great blessing to us as well, because that'll push us out. It's the same as hitting that like button. All right, so I'm going to get right into this. Again, this is breaking news, guys, coming out of Israel 365 News, who is reporting this. The Temple Institute has now officially announced as of August 6th that all of those heifers, those red heifers that were brought in from Texas, have now been all disqualified to be used. Let's read a little bit of this. All right, the Temple Institute announced on Tuesday that the remaining red heifers that had been brought from Texas to perform the biblically mandated purification ceremony are not suited for the ceremony. Quote, the 3 weeks of intensified focus and adoption of customs of mourning over the destruction of the holy temples in Jerusalem have ended, the announcement read. And again, they're talking about the 9th of Av, because they just finished up in that season of the 9th of Av on the Jewish calendar. But our recap of all the work the Temple Institute is involved with, the one aim of rebuilding the Holy Temple and renewing the divine service is far from exhausted. The Temple Institute described its more than 2 decades of efforts to find a suitable red heifer. A red heifer is an entirely red female cow with no more than one red hair on its entire body. In the language of the Bible, red is not exclusively what we know as red. It also includes brown and other similar shades of red. This excludes black. All of the hairs on its body must be the same color. The animal must be 2 years of age and 1 month old. So 2 years and 1 month old. There can be no blemish, no holes in the ear, and may never have carried a burden. In September of 2022, Bonai Israel, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, a cooperative effort of Jews and Christians together found 5 suitable candidates in Texas and transported them to Israel. Quote, we have forged deep connections with cattle growers in the U.S., both professionally and personally, the statement by the Temple Institute continued. We have worked with cattle growers in Israel. We have raised red heifer candidates here in Israel and flown over red heifer candidates from Texas. The halakot concerning the eligibility of a potential red heifer are very strict. And unfortunately, all of our efforts so far have been frustrated by the appearance of more than one non-red hair on all of our potential candidates. Nevertheless, our efforts continue. Attaining a suitable red heifer, however, is only one aspect of the work of achieving the longed for purifying ashes. Once a valuable red heifer has been achieved, it needs to be slaughtered and burned into ashes. Simply creating a fire that will burn at a temperature capable of converting the heifer into ashes is a task that has required much research and experimentation. The Kohanim, who are free of the impurity, and they use some Hebrew words here, and I'm going to give you what it basically means. The proximity to a dead body must be located, for only Kohanim enjoying such a status can be involved in creating ashes. This requires the Kohanim who were home birth and have never stepped inside a hospital or cemetery, where the impurity of Tameh met is a given. The Institute has successfully located and brought on board eligible Kohanim. Pure waters from the Shiluk spring located at the foot of the city of David must be collected, and cedar wood, hyssop, and wool dyed red with the talit shani insect must also be acquired and added to the ashes. Fortunately, all these elements are readily attainable. So let me just break this down so it doesn't get too confusing. So what they're saying here, guys, and I'm going to show you another report here in just a minute. They're saying that though the red heifers are disqualified, everything else is there. All of the other material is available. The cedar wood, the hyssop, the wool dried, all of these things that they need, that the Temple Institute has announced for several years now. They have attained these. They've been raising up these priests that will perform the ceremonies when it will be carried out. They already have that required. So it appears to what I'm reading, that these red heifers are the only missing part here. Now, this is a huge setback, but it is interesting because there was a statement made by the Temple Institute over this past 9th of Av during this season on the Jewish calendar, and I'm going to read that to you in just a second. All throughout the Institute's continuing efforts, tremendous research has formed the basis for every step forward we have taken. One rabbi of the Temple Institute has devoted years of his life researching and overseeing all of these aspects. The announcement described a practice burning, and we talked about that with Mondo Gonzalez. We brought him on, and he explained what that was. This was carried out recently using one of the Texas red heifers that had been deemed unsuitable. So again, this wasn't the actual ceremony. This was what they're calling a, quote, practice burning. This was a dry run, setting the stage for what would be the real deal if the red heifers were qualified. But again, it appears that none of these, at least from Texas, are now qualified. The experiment here, I'll just pull this up, guys, so you can see this, what I'm reading. I'm reading from, again, Israel 365 News. The experience better prepares us for the ultimate performance of the ceremony with a kosher heifer, the Temple Institute stated. Quote, we all know that acquiring the purifying ashes of the red heifer will be a major and indisputable step forward toward building the mikdash and renewing the offerings. Again, they're talking about building the temple. For this very reason, there are many opposed to our efforts among the enemies of Israel, and to our regret, even within the people of Israel. For this reason, and I'm going to say even among Christians, there's a lot of Christians that either A, they don't believe there'll be a third temple, and we'll get into that in just a moment, or B, they oppose it. For this reason, we keep a tight lid on our efforts and generally, quote, do not advertise our successes. Now, they go on and say that opposition to the red heifer in the Jewish temple in Jerusalem is, quote, extreme. One of the military spokesmen there a military spokesman for this is the military wing of the Palestinian Hamas terror organization, made a televised appearance on the 100th day of Israel war on Gaza and stated that the motive for the invasion and massacre of Israelis on October 7th of 2023 was the arrival of the red heifers in Israel. Now, again, that's huge. Again, we've said that the Muslims, they know this. Even they recognize the prophetic significance of this and the implications of this. And if this information is true, then this is incredible. The criminal, quote, Zionists are practically advancing towards destroying the Al-Aqsa. See, this is how they visualize this. This is why they oppose a third temple, because they see this as a threat to the Al-Aqsa and, quote, establishing their temple, justifying the attack Hamas dubbed the Al-Aqsa flood. Due to our reluctance to advertise and also due to our lack of success in acquiring a viable red heifer candidate despite all our efforts, some of our supporters have expressed their frustration. After all, there are many red-haired breeds of cattle in the world and no doubt many thousands of potential red heifers born each year. No doubt, if the Temple Institute enjoyed a much larger budget, we could, quote, expand our efforts and potentially acquire a red heifer sooner rather than later. But just as the statue of the red heifer is considered to be a great test of our faith in and fidelity to Hashem's word, we must also maintain the faith and trust that a suitable red heifer will be found when God sees fit. Wow. Meanwhile, our efforts continue full steam ahead. Now, guys, let me know your thoughts on this. Again, let's recap this before I go on to the next article. I'm going to give you an article that Michael Snyder put out on a piece on his website, and this is some information that came again from the same institution, the Temple Institute. And it's interesting because it's almost like two sides of the coin. It's a paradox. On one side, they said the heifers are disqualified, so it seems like all efforts are done. But then you get this news. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Then you see a report like this. The Temple Institute declares, quote, it's time to build as road signs pointing to the future temple go up around Israel. Wow. Let's read a little bit of this. All right. Will the construction of the third temple soon begin? Quote, what I'm going to share in this article is truly shocking. For years, the Temple Institute has been preparing for the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem, and now it appears that they believe that the time has come. Now, y'all see how this is so weird, because you get the announcement today that the heifers are disqualified, but needless to say, any effort to rebuild the temple would create a firestorm of controversy all over the globe. But there is clearly a tremendous amount of momentum inside Israel to allow construction to commence, and someone has been putting up road signs that literally point people in the direction of the coming temple. Let's look at this. And this is an article that is verifying this. A sign of the times, unofficial road signs to the third temple appearing. Guys, what you're looking at here are unofficial road signs pointing to the Temple Mount. These are being put up in preparation for this. All right, the buzz surrounding the idea of a third temple seems to have gone up a notch. Unofficial road signs are appearing, and they're directing people to the, quote, house of the Lord. They may be made by rogue sign makers in a guerrilla operation, but their very existence signifies that, quote, something major is brewing. Wow. Never far from the minds of many Orthodox Jews, the reconstruction of the temple is something promised in Scripture several times in both Old and New Testaments. What was once dismissed as the pipe dream of fringe radicals is now beginning to crystallize into a tangible possibility within our lifetime, especially amid current discussions of previously unimaginable peace agreements. Ladies and gentlemen, wow. Is that not phenomenal? Listen to the verbiage of this. We're talking about the future construction of a third temple, and they're saying that this is coming in the midst of discussions of previously unimaginable peace agreements. What did we say? Season of peace and safety. Each day, the Jewish people pray the Amidah, a set of blessings said 3 times a day facing Jerusalem. The 17th blessing, which means service or worship, goes like this, quote, accept your people, O Lord, our God, and receive the prayer. Restore the most holy service of our house and accept in love the offerings and prayers of Israel. May the service of your people, Israel, always be pleasing to you. May our eyes see you return to Zion in mercy. Blessed are you, O Lord, who restores his presence to Zion. Quote, the prayers and expectation in Jewish tradition include faith in the biblical promises of regathering Israel, rebuilding Jerusalem, and the restoration of the temple. By the way, all three of these are biblical. The restoration of Israel, or the regathering of Israel, the rebuilding of Jerusalem, we call it the restoration of Jerusalem, and the restoring of the temple. All of this is biblical. An end times temple is mentioned in the Bible several times in prophetic literature such as Isaiah 2, verses 2 and 3, Micah 4, 1 and 2, Daniel 9:27, Zechariah 14:20, as well in the New Testament in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4, and Revelation chapter 11. Nailed it. Exactly. I can't disagree with that. It is described as the, quote, temple of God and the house of the Lord of hosts. Yet it seems that from text that it will at some point be defiled by the Antichrist, standing where he should not stand, as Jesus said in both the Gospels of Matthew and Mark, referring back to Daniel's prophecy. And guys, this is spot on. This is absolutely true. So this is why I said that all of these rabbis and these mystics, these Jewish mystics who are anticipating the arrival of the Mashiach, or who they call the Mashiach, the Messiah. And some of these guys have claimed that they've had conversations with the Messiah, who is going to appear shortly. I believe if they are not born again, messianic, I believe they are going to fall into great deception, and they are going to open arm embrace the arrival of the Antichrist, who, by the way, will invade that future temple and set up his headquarters. That's 2 Thessalonians. Okay, so common sense tells us that the temple has to be constructed first before the Antichrist comes on the scene. So just keep all this in mind, how close we are. We're talking about peace agreements in the Middle East. We're talking about covenants. We're talking about treaties. We're talking about Israel being restored, Jerusalem being restored. And now you've got these road signs that are appearing in Israel, in Jerusalem, pointing to the future third temple. The temple institution is saying it's time to build. Now, is there roadblocks? Is there setbacks? Yes. The Heifers have been disqualified. But I'm going to just quote what the rabbi said. When it's God's time and the season has come, it's going to happen. There's nobody that's going to stop that. Satan's not going to stop it. Hamas is not going to stop it. No rabbis are going to stop it that are opposing it, or people in Israel, or whatever the case may be. When it's time, guys, it's going to happen. Now, I want to show you that this is the Temple Institute's Facebook page. This was posted. I believe it was yesterday. No, it was posted on Sunday. Excuse me. This was posted a couple days ago on Sunday. Look at this in big bold letters, picture right in your face. It's time to build. Synchronize your watches. It's time to build. Now, where is this coming from? It's coming from the Temple Institute. And again, this announcement was made during the 9th of Av, which is the annual Jewish fast day commemorating the destruction of both the first and second temples. This solemn day is marked by morning prayer and reflection on the loss of the temple as the center of worship. Guys, and I don't have time to get into this because it would be a whole other teaching, but every major disaster and negative things that happened to the nation of Israel, they all occurred on the 9th of Av. There's like so many of these disasters. It's somewhere buried in all of my sermons and my notes. I've got an entire page where I did a whole post on this one time, or did a podcast, and we listed all. I want to say there's like 12 major events that took place all on the 9th of Av. And this is why they commemorate this by mourning through prayer and reflection of the loss of the temple as the center of worship. For the Temple Institute, however, here's what's interesting. The fast is also seen as a call to action, transforming grief over past destruction into preparation for rebuilding. As outlined in the Institute's statement of principles, the organization is dedicated to, quote, restoring temple consciousness and preparing for the construction of the third temple on Mount Moriah. Wow. They argue that 1/3 of the commandments in the Torah revolve around the temple and that Judaism without it is incomplete. The temple, in their view, is not just a relic of the past, but a divine mandate awaiting fulfillment in the present. Let me say that again. If you think, so for all you guys thinking that this is some charismatic dream, pipe dream, or some Pentecostal pipe dream, that we just want this to happen. No. The Jews, those who adhere to Judaism and embrace this, they view this not as just the temple. They don't look at this as just some relic of historical context or past, but they see the rebuilding of the temple as a divine mandate awaiting fulfillment in the present. Now, something else happened over the weekend during the 9th of Av, and that was that the national security minister and thousands of other Israelis visited the Temple Mount to pray. Now, many of you may be watching or listening to this today or this evening, whenever we actually share this out there, because this is pre-recorded. You may be reading that or hearing this and say, well, what's the big deal about this? Okay, here, it is extremely controversial for Israelis to worship on the Temple Mount, and this incident actually sparked tremendous amount of anger throughout the entire Islamic world. And what this is doing, guys, is just putting more gas on the fire, and it's fueling it. And things are really heating up in the Middle East. I'm telling you, I know we're so easily distracted. We're distracted by blue jean commercials. We're distracted by the circus in Washington, the Epstein files, what Trump's doing, what Obama's doing, what the Clintons are doing. We're distracted by so many things that things are accelerating in the Middle East. And by the way, Israel is the centerpiece of Bible prophecy. So just to recap this real quick, again, the Heifers are disqualified from Texas. But the garments for priestly service, including the ephod of the high priest adorned with 12 precious stones, has now been completed. These garments have been approved by rabbinical scholars, and are part of an actual plan to reinstate temple service. More than 300 men with verifiable lineage tracing back to the priestly line of Aaron are now undergoing rigorous training from animal sacrifices to ritual purification. All of them are being equipped for real world ministry in a future temple. All right, meanwhile, so we're in the Middle East, right? We're doing this update. I want to show you this. This is interesting. Look at this headline. Hamas releases second video of Israeli hostage and says, watch this, it will not disarm until Palestinian state has been established. Now y'all remember, we talked about this last week, I think it was in a podcast, but this is coming up this in September 9th. So we're almost a month out. The 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly will convene at the UN headquarters in New York, and there is a massive push for a Palestinian state. We talked about this, that you have several on board with this already. You've got Canada that's on board with this. The United Kingdom is on board with this. And there is so much pressure coming on the United States to agree to a two-state solution or a division of Jerusalem. And here you have Hamas saying, we're not going to free these hostages unless there's a Palestinian state established.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.